Victor. We're going to start in 35 seconds.
Gotta put my bracelet on.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Orange County School Board's regularly scheduled meeting this Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. Hard time hearing me? All right. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. We have for us, in the middle of COVID, we have a fairly, not full chamber, but we have a lot of people, and it's great to see so many friendly faces, and we look forward to celebrating many of you this evening. All of our board members are attending this evening. We have 2 that are attending virtually. So Member Lopez, can you acknowledge that you're on the line with us?
Good afternoon,
Thank you.
Chair Jacobs.
Thank you. And Member Byrd. Member Byrd, are you with us?
I am. Thank you, Chair.
All right. And all others are here present in the chambers. Let me mention before we start our meeting that board members have committed themselves to giving 100% of their attention during the meetings to you here and to the business and work in front of us. So if anyone is trying to reach us electronically via emails, you're free to send your emails, but you will not see a response from board members. So be patient with us. If there's something that we need to know before the meeting, get a hold of us before the meeting. If there's a technical issue, reach out to School Board Services so we can try to correct it. And I wanted to also share that that we are going to have a very special guest tonight, but I will wait until just a minute. We're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll rise for the moment of silence, we'll begin with that. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I already teased this up. We're going to take things a little out of order because we are going to start with a very special guest who is here with us. Catherine Rehart and her son, James Rehart, are here because today we are proclaiming April 2021 as Autism Awareness Month here in Orange County Public Schools. So James is a Domerick Elementary School 2nd grader, and he has autism, and we are excited to hear what he has to say. James, thanks for being here. I also want to mention
Hello,
we all got
this is James.
a gift from James. Thank you, James.
Proclamation Autism Awareness Month. Autism is a developmental disability characterized a range of success and challenges with socialization, communication, and behavior. And whereas the symptoms of autism typically are present before age 3 years and often are accompanied by abnormalities, cognitive function, learning, attention, and sensory processing. And autism affects 1 in every 59 children in the United States. Autism is 4 times more likely to occur in boys than girls. Whereas autism can affect anyone regardless of race, ethnicity, or other factors. The parents and relatives of individuals with autism are commended for their sacrifice and dedication in providing for the special needs of individuals with autism.
Me or you?
Your turn, Molly.
Okay. Whereas the need for early intervention services begins soon after a child has been diagnosed with autism, because early intervention significantly improves the outcome for people with autism and can reduce the level of funding and services needed to treat people with autism later in life. And me or you?
You.
Got it. Whereas the importance of worker training programs that are tailored to the needs of developmentally disabled persons, including those with autism, and that people with autism can be and are productive members of the workforce if they are given appropriate support, training, and early intervention services. And together?
The U.S. House and Senate passed Resolution 303, February 25th, 2008, recognizing the importance of autism, awareness of the need to support individuals with autism, and the family matters, teachers, physicians, and the other professionals who care for individuals with autism.
And
Whereas individuals with autism, like all other Americans, should have the opportunity to realize their ambitions and lead relearning life.
you got this.
And
You have this.
therefore be it resolved that Orange County Public Schools does hereby proclaim April 1st through 30th, 2021 as Autism Awareness Month.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. That was so incredible. Thank you so much for sharing James with us today and his amazing capabilities. Member Casterdental.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to let James know how proud we all are. Hi. We are so proud of you for getting up there in front of all these people and saying all that you did. You are very brave. You're welcome. And we appreciate that. And parents, we know how hard you work and how much you practice that. And your efforts show. And I also went to Domrick. I was a teacher at Domrick. And I live in Domrick neighborhood, so I'm one of your neighbors. Yep. So I'm lucky to have you as one of my neighbors. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Member Casterdental. Well, if that, Dr. Gesundheit, if that doesn't reinforce how important our work here is, nothing will. All right, we're going to get back to our regular agenda because we have a lot of other things to celebrate. So tonight we have some winners to celebrate. Let me call on Doug Patterson. Oh, let me start with, we're celebrating winter sports. Of course, everybody knows this. And joining us are coaches and athletes from Dr. Phillips, from Freedom High School, and from Winter Park High School. So now let me introduce Doug Patterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the school board, and Superintendent Jenkins. It is always an honor to share in recognizing our students who have clinched the highest athletic titles in weightlifting, wrestling, competitive cheerleading, and basketball. For our first presentation, Dr. Phillips High School's Zamara St. Cyr won the school's first individual weightlifting state championship in school history. Please help me welcome her athletic director from Dr. Phillips, Steve McHale.
Is it okay to put this down and talk to the mic or no?
Welcome.
Welcome. Madam Chair, School Board, Superintendent Jenkins, thank you for letting us have this moment for all my athletes. It's an honor to be up here. And again, it wasn't for them and the coaches, we wouldn't have this moment. They do incredible things, and I'm going to introduce you. Unfortunately, our coach could not be here for tonight because he has a little one at home he has to attend to. And his wife's a teacher, actually doing conferencing right now. So she was busy. I'm going to introduce you to Miss Zamora St. Croix. Sincere. I always say that. She gets me all the time. Sincere. She is seer. But she's a very unique athlete. She's a three-sport athlete for us. She does many things, not just in the weightlifting world, but she does it in the wrestling world, as you'll see as well in a little bit, and she also does it in track and field. But the unique thing about her, and about most of my athletes, is not just her athletic ability. It's her as a student and as a mentor for students that are in our school. She is over a 3.0 GPA. Her goal is to go into, if I'm correct, neurosurgeon as a nurse, neonatal as a nurse, which is, I find fascinating, and it's unique that you can find an athlete that's as diverse as her on an academic playing field as well as in the sports that she attends. She carries a 3.44 weighted GPA. She has carried with her athletes as well. All my athletes here are sharing. Their teams are all over 3.0 GPA overall as a combination of our team sports. So that's something that we hold heartily at our thing. She's a 3-time regional champion, and like they said, she's our first state individual weightlifter, along with she carries all our records in the 129 and the 139 weight class all time at DP. So again, Miss Zamora, sincere. This is your moment. This is your moment in time.
Congratulations. With us again this year, Dr. Phillips' girls wrestling team had their 5th straight undefeated and state championship season. Here to recognize the 3 individual girls state champions who are with us tonight, as well as speak about their team's success, is Coach Austin Adderley.
I can take this off? Take it down? All right. Okay, all right. So today we have our individual wrestlers. We have Zamora St. Cyr. She is a weightlifting state champ, and she also plays 4th at states this year. We have Juliana Diaz. She is a 2-time state champ. We also have Sky Gowan. She is a 3-time state placer and also a state champion. And last but not least, we have Armel. And she is a 2-time state champion. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Congratulations, girls. So OCPS had 5 individual state champions in girls wrestling. The other 2 come from Freedom High School. And here tonight to speak about their success and introduce them is Coach David Bush.
Awesome.
All right, first we got Kaylee Reese. She was a 122-pound state champion. She went undefeated this year. She also went over 100 career victories this year, and she's a junior, and she's ranked number 12th in the country.
Oh.
Next, we have Sierra Chavez. She's a 184 undefeated state champion this year, and she's currently ranked number 14th in the country.
Thank you, Coach, and congratulations, girls. This past Saturday night, 2 students from OCPS, one from Dr. Phillips and one from Winter Park High School, clinched boys state wrestling titles. Gerald Greaves won the 285-pound weight class, and here tonight to speak about Gerald's success is head coach from Dr. Phillips, David Aubrey.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'd like to first take this moment to say that this experience with Gerald has been very emotional experience. This is a young man that came to us his 9th grade year, did not participate in sports, wanted to just kind of walk around the halls and be cool with his friends, like most kids want to do. Unfortunately, his sophomore year, he became ineligible to participate in sports. I still continued to work with him. He was in my credit recovery class his junior year. We were able to finally get him eligible the second half of his junior year. And and here he is today as a state champion, and he's going to play college football at Hutchinson College in Kansas. Gerald is a two-time district champion, one-time regional champion, and state champion this year in the 285-pound weight class. So great story in that young man.
Awesome.
Stand up, man.
Awesome.
As I mentioned earlier, we also have a state boys wrestling champion from Winter Park High School, Joe Gonzalez, in the 145-pound weight class. Here to speak about Joe's season is head coach Craig Russell from Winter Park.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. I always like to say hi to Dr. Jenkins. She was my principal at Brookshire when I was there, and I'm always so proud to tell people I knew her as Miss Jenkins. I still feel like calling her Miss Jenkins, but I know it's very, very unprofessional, but it's Miss Jenkins. So, hey, I'm back. So,
You're giving away my age. You're giving away.
you look exactly the same. I mean, it's wonderful. So, I took over the program 3 years ago at Winter Park High School. Through and through Winter Park. I've been there for past 17 years, coaching football and now wrestling. I'm more than proud to say that I'm able to be a part of this young man's accomplishments. To put in perspective, he had one of the most dominant athletic seasons that I've been a part of or seen. To put in perspective, in the wrestling world, he outscored his opponents this year 148-11 points-wise, went undefeated, district, regional, metro, and state champion in different weight classes. He won the 152 metro weight class and then 145 district, regional, and state champion. And he's the first state champion at Winter Park High School since 1992. And we're just so proud of his accomplishments and his future. Again, the perspective in the wrestling world, it's kind of like if a football team were to go out and play a full season and average, a 28-3 victory every week, that's what Joe did. So we're more than proud of him. It's great to be a Wildcat, and we look forward to his future. Joe.
Congratulations, Joe. Thank you, Craig. Now to recognize our competitive cheerleading state champions. For the 10th time in school history, the Winter Park High School Wildcats captured the FHSA state championships at the end of January in the medium division. Here to speak about her team is head coach Angela Austin.
Move the microphone a little bit here. Thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor to share this time with the school board. And I know that we've been here a few times before, but every time is just as special. Today, we are all celebrating our 10th FHSA state championship, and it is our 20th overall state championship prior to us becoming a sport. A special thanks to Matt Arnold, my principal at Winter Park High School, and my amazing athletic director, Andy Childs. Thank you to both of you for everything that you do for my program at Winter Park. I really appreciate it. I'm more than proud of these young ladies. Their commitment, we made a commitment at the beginning of this year when we got started a little late that we were going to commit our time to our family, to school, and to cheer, and that's exactly what they did, winning a state championship. They won the Metro and Region Championship as well. So today, I would like to share with you 4 of our amazing seniors. I have Bella Oliveri, if you could stand up, Jalen Rivera, Abby Trainum, and Katie Carroll. Not only are these ladies wonderful students and athletes, I would like to also say that my team has a weighted GPA, and I ran this today, of a 4.1 average. So that's a huge accomplishment. Thank you for having us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach Austin. And finally, this past Saturday, the Dr. Phillips High School boys basketball team won the 2021 FHSA Class 7A state championship. This was Dr. Phillips' 7th trip to the FHSA Final Four, first since 2011. This year, the Panthers were able to secure the school's first state championship by defeating Oak Ridge in the semifinals and Dwyer in the finals. Joined tonight by a few members of his team, please help me welcome Coach Ben Witherspoon to share some highlights of his remarkable 24-3 season.
Thank you for having us here today. Put that up just a little bit. Just kind of hit me that we won a state championship right now, Doug. Thanks for saying that. First, want to say thank you to our AD, Steve McHale, who's done just an outstanding job here with us this year, and he was my AD when I was at Ocoee High School as well, so I'm just really thankful for him and everything he's done for me and our program and our principal, Dr. Suzanne Knight. You have to have championship people in roles all over your school and all over your program to do these kinds of things, so I'm just really appreciative of them. Today, I have 3 of our players here. First, we have Ernest Uday Jr. Ernest is a very small man at 6'10". Sorry, Steve, sorry, Doug, for Ernest breaking the backboard this year. Ernest shattered a backboard and was featured on ESPN and all sorts of other websites. So sorry for costing you guys that money. Don't take it out of my check. Next, we have Denzel Aberdeen. Denzel is our leading scorer this year and our starting point guard. Trust him with the ball every day, every game. Denzel, one day I'll let you watch my child because I trust you that much. Next, we have Ledger Hatch. Ledger is a kid that's very special and is going to be tough to replace. He was a senior for us this year. Football player and very, very smart. And he always makes sure I know that he's going to Harvard and he's smarter than me. So I love him to death. But I'm really appreciative to be the head coach of Dr. Phillips. Lastly, I just like to recognize the guys that were the coaches before me because I've just had so many alumni reach out. I didn't know how big of a deal it would be for that community. So I'm thankful for Anthony Long and Daniel Batchelor and Theo McWhite and all the work they did to build the Dr. Phillips program to where it was. And we were just able to finish the job. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Coach. As I conclude, I would just like to acknowledge our principals and our athletic directors who are present tonight, who have supported our student athletes during this very difficult year. Without their work, none of this would have been possible. I would also like to thank all of you, Superintendent Jenkins, Chief of High Schools, Dr. Border, for your continued support in making the 2021 season something that we could see to fruition. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Doug. Doug, thank you. Thank you to all the coaches, and thank you to all the champions in allowing us to share in your celebration here this evening. American author T. Allen Armstrong once said, "Champions do not become champions when they win the event. They become champions in the hours, weeks, months, and years they spend preparing for it. The victorious performance itself is merely the demonstration of their championship character." Speaks volumes about each and every one of you. In addition to the character that you bring, these fine students have represented OCPS well through their display of collaboration, discipline, and sportsmanship, and academics. We're really excited to see that each one of you are also devoting yourself not just to making your body stronger, but making your mind stronger. Now, I would like to take a minute. I'm going to call on Member Gould and Member Gallo, and then for closing and special remarks, we want to hear from Member Felder. Member Gould?
Congratulations. You all performed in a very difficult year, but not only did you perform, you kept up your self-maintenance in order to be able to perform in extraordinary circumstances. A year ago this time, and especially as we got closer to August, we did not know if sports and performing arts would even be able to happen. And we're thrilled that we could work it out under great medical advisement and with lots of cooperation from the communities. But you all stayed with it and kept strong, and that is a testament to each of your characters and what you're able to accomplish. and overcome, because it's not easy to balance all of that, especially when our entire world is turned upside down. So congratulations and many best wishes in the future, whether you're still with us for another year or two or go on to your next chapter in your lives.
Thank you. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say congratulations. I think Member Gould said it best. It's been a difficult year, and for you guys to go out there and perform and to be so dedicated, not just in your sport, but in your academics, says a lot to who you are individually and says a lot to what your future holds for you. So congratulations. I'm so proud of you. This is one of my favorite things to be a school board member, is to witness all the accolades that our students get and how hard you work for them. So it's a pleasure for me to sit up here. It is indeed great to be a Wildcat, so go Wildcats. I'm always so proud of you guys, so congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallo. And now let me recognize Member Felder for one more recognition of the NBA All-Star Weekend. Member Felder.
Hi. Just before I do make that recognition, I opened Dr. Phillips in 1987. I just want to say, RDP! That's right. Okay. But at this time, I had to say that. I taught there 19 years. Yes, sir. So now I want to talk about Anthony Simons. Anthony Simons was a former student of mine at Edgewater High School. He was in my honors English 3 class. And when I first met him, I asked him, I said, what is your name? He said, Anthony. I said, Anthony as in Anthony Holloway? He said, Anthony, yes, Anthony Simons, and I'm going to the NBA. I said, all right. So I'm so grateful for Anthony. I believe that we do have a picture of him with that slam dunk contest he won. He's a graduate of Edgewater High School and from beautiful Orlando, Florida. I'm so happy, and we're so proud of him. If you saw the NBA, if you saw the All-Star game, Anthony, he won the slam dunk contest. So guys, 16 and all the rest of you young ladies and everybody, listen, hey, if it's in your heart, he knew it when he was 16 years old, what he was going to do. You can do it. There it is right there. Y'all see it? Okay. Thank you so much, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Member Felder.
12 feet. Go get that. He's 6'3". Go get that. It was impressive. He made it look easy. But he made it look too easy.
And for this man, Anthony Simons, now look, he doesn't have to do anything that's going to knock your socks off if he wants to save something for the championship round here.
Can't do that, Ernie. You gotta hype yourself up. Each dunk, when Vince Carter was in it, Michael Jordan, they don't save dunks. You just do them, and it gets your adrenaline to the next dunk. Every dunk counts and gets your adrenaline going. Don't abort the mission. Come in here and get what you're supposed to do. Get that money and tell everybody around the world, when you're chasing me on the fast break, D-Wade, don't jump.
He's gone to the Tracy McGrady jersey. Big fan of the 2000 slam dunk competition.
I got a question for you, Kenny, after this dunk.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Member Felder.
Thank you.
Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly wanted to acknowledge both Autism Month, wonderful parents, our incredible teachers, administrators that work so willingly and capably with our students. Congratulations to all of those who are recognized for Autism Awareness Month. To our student athletes in the audience, want to say, as your superintendent, how very proud we are of you. And coaches don't get paid enough for all the hours that they put in, so I want to say thank you to all of our coaches and for your tireless efforts, not just building athletes, but building students, building character in our young women and our young men. And Craig, every time you talk about Brookshire, you need to say I was a child principal, that I was extremely young when I was your principal. I'll be calling you on that line. We need to get that rehearsed. But at the end of the day, all of the effort put in by these young people, whether they end up in an NBA championship round for the slam dunk contest or not, your efforts are just as celebrated by your friends and your family here at OCPS. Congratulations to all of you. We'll be watching because we know there's more great things to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. All right, we have a couple more recognitions. We are also proclaiming April 2021 as School Board Library Media Month here in Orange County Public Schools. And we're proclaiming April 11th through the 17th as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Orange County Public Schools. Dr. Jenkins, before we finish our celebrations, do you have any newly appointed administrators? All right, with that said, we are going to then dismiss all of our athletes, our champions, our coaches. If you want to go, if you want to spend the rest of the evening with us, we'd love to have you stick around. But otherwise, this would be a great time to hit the road.
Great job. Yeah.
Dr. Jenkins, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, members of the board, we have one change to the agenda. Item 8.01, request approval of the Mater Academy of Popular Performance-Based Management to non-consent agenda.
All right, thank you. Chair finds cause to amend the agenda as requested. Is there a motion to amend the agenda? Motion by Member Gallo. Is there a second? Second by Member Castor-Dental. All in favor of the motion to amend the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And Member Lopez?
Aye.
Thank you. And that carries unanimously. And we have, before we take up the consent agenda, we do have one member of the public, one of our teachers here in Orange County Public Schools, Ms. Engstad, is here to speak to 3.01. Ms. Engstad. Where did she go? There you are. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Early literacy is a topic that I am passionate about, as sound reading instruction opens up opportunities for students. Wonders may be used as a component for reading instruction, although I believe rich literature must be included in the prescription. A wonderful part of being a teacher is that you get to take these resources and make them your own. We must teach the standards while also instilling a love of reading. It is the only way to establish lifelong learners. This is especially important for our most fragile students. Analysis of where they are in the reading process and how to move them forward is crucial so that we not only achieve growth, but also motivate them to continue growing. How do we close gaps while also tapping into what makes them feel inspired and curious? The world is in a very challenging place. The way for us to contribute to the well-being of our world is to send literate changemakers into it. Smart, curious, empathetic students that believe in what connects us as humans, know diversity as a strength, persevere when they falter, stand up for one another, and demonstrate integrity with the choices they make. We learn so much of this through books. I used pieces of Journeys this year as I needed decodable text for the students to practice reading. I also used more complex text so students could grapple with comprehension while increasing their vocabulary and content knowledge. We read, conversed, and sometimes debated a plethora of topics this year. Implementing all of this empowered students, and each child demonstrated positive growth in reading. I want to leave you with one of my favorite picture books. Mary Walker was born into slavery in Alabama in 1848. When the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, she was 15. She was never taught to read or even given the opportunity, but was very bright and always had a desire to learn. Mary Walker learned to read at 116 years old. Her motivation? She wanted to read the Bible. Her perseverance, passion, and grit make her remarkable. The moral of this story? If Mary Walker can learn to read at 116 years old, our 212,000 students can as well. We are the 8th largest school district in the United States, so we have such an incredible outreach, opportunity, and responsibility. So if you ever have one of those days where you feel like it isn't possible, and we all have those days, just remember Mary Walker. One note about these illustrations: as you read, all of the signage and the pictures are squiggles. But as Mary learns to read, they become words. My class cheered for her every time I turned a page and the squiggles became words and numbers. Like Mary, the letters in the books are just squiggles for many fragile readers, until they aren't. When we couple the science of reading, all of the necessary components to develop readers, with the art of teaching, the freedom to select topics and texts that motivate, inspire, or educate children, we ignite that spark to know more about the world and those who live in it. Only then do we accomplish our vision to ensure that every student has a promising and successful future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Miss Engstedt had written to me ahead of time telling me what she was going to talk about, and I couldn't wait for her to share that story. Occasionally I'll get an email from her, and there's always a story about kids that is just so amazing. I wish I had been in your class growing up. I wish every one of my kids had that opportunity. Thank you for the great work you do with our children. Okay, we will then move on to the consent agenda. If we have no more public comments, any other public comments? We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda? That was Member Colbert? No, I'm sorry. That was you? I'm sorry, it didn't sound like your voice. And it ricocheted. I'm sorry. Vice Chair.
I will
the
second.
motion, and Member Colbert seconded. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And our two members,
Aye.
that was Member Lopez, Member Byrd.
Yes, aye, sorry.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we will then move on to public hearing 301. It's actually a public hearing. I was thinking it was on the consent agenda. Dr. Jenkins, let me turn it over to you.
Madam Chair, this is the last opportunity for any public input regarding the adoption, and then it is on the consent agenda, and we had no speakers, so we're good.
Well, we did have one. It was Ms. Engstedt on this issue. She was not not here to oppose or support it. She just wanted us to understand how important literacy is, and as we all know, to give our teachers the opportunity to have some flexibility to
Excellent point.
really encourage a love of reading, something that I know I have now, and I didn't have it in elementary school. And when I found it, it opened the doors to so many opportunities in my own life. So quite amazing. Okay, with that, was there a motion to approve item 301?
So moved.
Motion by Member Gallo. Is there a second? Second by Member Colbert. Sorry, who was that? Was that?
Lopez, it's okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And was that Member Lopez? I said
Aye.
Okay, and I think we
Aye.
got everybody. Thank you. A little bit harder to do over the phone, but it's working. Unanimously approved. We are on item 701, request approval of the resolution of Orange County School Board Leasing Corporation. We need to adjourn the meeting as school board and convene the meeting of the. Do we have to take up the item that we moved off the consent agenda? I think we're coming back to that after this. Thank you, though. So we're going to adjourn the meeting as the school board, and we're going to convene the meeting as the Orange County School Board Leasing Corporation, correct? And Dr. Jenkins, is this your item, or is this? Whose item is this?
It is, Madam Chair, and actually Mr. Kelly has been in touch with individual board meeting members. This is simply a provision for us to do refinancing of some of our debt at no cost to the district. We need the approval of the leasing corporation.
All right, thank you. So we have two actions that we need to consider. The first action is a request to approve the minutes of the Orange County School Board Leasing Corporation meeting dated November 17th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion by Vice Chair.
So moved.
Vice Chair made the motion, seconded by Member Byrd, yes?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The second action is to consider the resolution amending and supplementing Resolution 12.02 adopted on November 7th, 2017, authorizing up to $140 million aggregate principal amount of refunding certificates of participation Series 2021A and execution of related documentation, including certificate purchase contract for the refunding certificates. I'd request a motion for approval of the request.
So moved.
Motion by Member Gallo. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Motion carries unanimously. With no further, Dr. Jenkins?
So your parliamentarian is getting very nervous. If we could
Good.
just confirm that the members on the telephone are just having a delayed response and that they are not voting nay for the motion.
Oh, did I hear nay?
No, they were just, when you said all
Opposed,
opposed,
they said
then they
aye
said
and
aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and they did say aye. So, thank you. So if I could get a confirmation from Member Byrd that your vote was in the affirmative?
Yes, my vote is in the affirmative. It takes a moment when we hit unmute for the computer to unmute us.
I
So that's
know.
why it's taking a little time.
I am so sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm in fast mode here. I apologize. Member Lopez, could you confirm that your motion was in the affirmative, in support of?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we good, parliamentarian? Thank you. Glad you caught me before we adjourn. So with no further business to address, we will adjourn the meeting of the Orange County School Board Leasing Corporation, reconvene the regular meeting of the Orange County School Board. And we are now on item 1702, previously 801 of the consent agenda. Dr. Jenkins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we had a couple of board members who, all of the board clearly understand the rationale behind why we have to approve this request. I'm going to ask Associate General Counsel, Mr. Palmerini, to come and make explanations so that the general public understands as well the provisions for this approval. Mr. Palmer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Is it on?
You know, it was, but maybe if you got a little closer to it.
We'll see.
No, it was on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. You just, unfortunately,
Yeah, I
either make
have
it
to-
taller or you're going to have to squat.
I have to do this. Thank you, members. Well, now I can actually pull down my glasses so I can see. Thank you, members of the board. I've given all of you this brief overview, but I think it is instructive for the public to hear it. House Bill 7069, I believe it passed in 2017. It created the Schools of Hope program. This board was amongst one of, I believe, 9 or 10 school districts that sued to have that bill declared unconstitutional with respect to the School of Hope provision 2, saying it usurped the school board's role to control, operate, and supervise all the charter schools within the district under Article 9, Section 4B of the Florida Constitution. As you all know, the public may not know, the court said we lack standing, meaning we didn't have an injury that could be redressed in court by this, and the courts ruled that we have to, as a school district and a school board, follow the legislative dictates with respect to Schools of Hope. So now, that gets us to where we are. This is our first School of Hope application. A School of Hope application comes from a Hope operator, and a Hope operator is an operator that's been designated by the Florida Department of Education as having success in working with kids who come from persistently lower performing schools, and they've had a track record. So there are 5 current Hope operators that have been approved by the Florida Department of Education. Mater is one. Hope operators can locate their Schools of Hope in one of 2 places. One, they can do it in the zone of a persistently low performing school. And just for the definition purpose, so everybody in the public has it, it's a school that has earned 3 consecutive grades lower than a C in at least 3 of the 5 previous years, and it has not earned a grade of B or higher in the most recent 2 years. So the School of Hope has chosen to locate near Phyllis Wheatley Elementary in Apopka. That is a school based upon the grades as defined by the legislature that would be considered persistently low performing. Also, Schools of Hope may locate in a Florida Opportunity Zone. A Florida Opportunity Zone is a population census tract that has been designated by the United States Department of Treasury as a qualified opportunity zone pursuant to a provision of the Internal Revenue Code. Phyllis Wheatley is also within a Florida Opportunity Zone. It's either or. It can either be a persistently low performing school or in an opportunity zone. This school meets both. So in that way, this is an appropriate place under the statute where a School of Hope can come in to locate and operate. Now for the process, this is very different than a normal charter school application process. Normally we get an application, we have a work session as a board, and then we have a vote as a board, and it's based upon a model evaluation instrument that we get from the state. Schools of Hope fill out what are known as notices of intent. And the statute says that these notices of intent, there's really 8 or 9 things you have to address. And once they address those with us, our staff can write back and say, hey, We want clarification on some of these provisions. And we did this with this school. We wanted to know when they were opening, that kind of stuff, but it was minor clarifications. And then this is the provision that's at issue with respect to it. Normally, we have more discretion with respect to approving or denying an application of a charter school. But the statute says very clearly the following, and I want to make sure, you all know this, but I want to make sure the public knows this. A school district, what happens is once that notice of intent is submitted to us, we then have 60 days to negotiate what's known as a performance-based agreement. The performance-based agreement is set up by statute. The Florida Department of Education gives us a model performance-based agreement that we have to use. If we do not use those provisions, it once again violates the flexibility intended for these types of schools. And then here's the provision that's at issue. A school district that does not enter into a performance-based agreement within 60 days after receipt of a notice of intent shall reduce the administrative fees withheld pursuant to 1002-33. So for the general public, for all of our charter schools, we have administrative fees that we receive where we provide them certain services, ESE services, other type of school lunch is included in that at some points with some schools, depending on whether or not they use our lunch program. And we withhold an administrative fee to help them on that. If we don't enter into a performance-based agreement within 60 days, and I believe we received our notice of intent on January 20th, so we are approaching that deadline. If we don't enter into it, we have to reduce the amount of administrative fees withheld from those schools, which is either 5% or 2% with a high-performing charter school, down to 1%. Upon execution of the performance-based agreement, the school district may resume withholding the full amount of administrative fees, but may not recover any fees that would have otherwise accrued during the pendency of the period of noncompliance. Meaning, if we go beyond 60 days and we execute a contract on day 75, we can't recoup the administrative fees we would have gotten from days 61 to 75. So, and then there's one last provision. If we were to not approve this contract, they could have, it's sort of a special process. This harkens back to my world in labor. We get to go to a special magistrate. Very interesting. It's not an administrative judge. And then he would decide whether or not we were not properly denying them the usage of performance-based agreement. And it says a charter school may recover attorney's fees and costs if the State Board of Education determines that a school district unlawfully implemented or otherwise impeded implementation of a performance-based agreement pursuant to this paragraph. Quite frankly, this statute, as I've told all of you before this meeting, is extremely directory to school districts. It leaves us little to no discretion to deny it. We have negotiated the performance-based agreement. That's what's on the agenda. I sent it to you all last week. It was actually a pretty good agreement. Just unlike the charter statute, this statute for Schools of Hope doesn't allow for the collection of an administrative fee. It doesn't call for it in there. But we've worked out with Mater that during the first year, we are going to do a 2% administrative fee with them, and we're going to see how that works out and what services they use versus what services they don't use. So Mater has worked with us on this. They've been a good partner in negotiating the contract, but the contract that we had to utilize was basically laid out for us by the Florida Department of Education. So I hope that explains the process in a nutshell. I will be happy to answer any questions that any board member may have.
Thank you, Mr. Palmerini. If you'll stay at the mic, I think we have possibly a couple of questions. Member Gallo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the words of a very wise woman that sits up at this dais once said, we should never approve a charter school without having a conversation with it first. It should always be on the non-consent agenda just so that we're transparent and that the community around us understands the obligations of our job as school board members. And we are bound by the law. And the law clearly states that if you're a School of Hope, you can open up in an opportunity zone or for a school such as Wheatley. I do have a few questions. Who is the management company for Mater Academy?
Academica.
Is this the same Mater Academy that's in South Florida?
I believe the answer to that's yes.
And when they move into Wheatley, you mentioned Wheatley a few times, they won't just be pulling from Wheatley School. They'll be trying to get students from other schools and middle schools and high schools in that area that aren't in the opportunity zone. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is almost, they locate in the opportunity zone, but it's almost like any other charter school where they can pull students from throughout the district if they so choose.
So they're in the opportunity zone, but they don't have to accept students from the opportunity zone. They can literally accept students from anywhere in Orange County.
They
Is that
can,
correct?
but they're supposed to give priority to those students who are in the opportunity zone who want to go there.
So they get like first priority, and then if there's room left, then they can go
Yes.
outside. So they'd have to offer or give a priority to Wheatley students before they offered it up to the other elementary, middle, or high school students.
That's correct.
Okay. I think that's all I had. I just wanted to make that point that they move in, and I know that it's an opportunity zone, and even if Wheatley would have been a B school because they are in an opportunity zone, they could have planted next to a B or C or A school and then attract from others. And I've not saying that there's anything wrong with this Mater Charter School. I've looked them up. They seem to be doing very well in South Florida. That's not my point, but I just thought, and I was one of the people that requested that we just have this conversation because I felt it was important. And I just want to make it very clear to the community that we are obligated to approve this charter school, and they will be pulling from other areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallo. I think you're right. I think it's always a good idea for us to have a conversation on any type of charter or choice school. Member Castellano.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that explanation, because I agree. It is important that we are transparent and that everyone understands what we're up against, and that when we take a vote tonight, we are not voting to approve a charter. We are voting to recognize the state's authority to put their School of Hope here, I guess.
Yeah,
Is that right?
I think that's a fair obligation. I think with the way the statute was laid out by the state, it gave you little to no discretion. And because I'm a lawyer, I always caveat little to no. In reality, it left you with little choice but to do this.
So if we were to vote down on this, then what would happen?
So if you were to vote down, like I said, under the statute, at that point, once the 60 days period runs out, then we have to stop collecting administrative fees in the amount that we collect them from all of the other charter schools in Orange County. This isn't just directed at Mater. It would be every other charter school we have. We would have to reduce our administrative fee from 5 or 2, depending on whether it is a high-performing school or just a regular charter school, down to 1% until such time that we entered into the performance-based agreement. Also, if we refuse to withhold that amount of money from, or we refuse to reduce that administrative fee down to 1%, the other charters could then turn around and sue us for the extra money that we withheld, and they would be entitled to their attorney's fees and costs for doing so.
Okay, I have a follow-up.
Please.
So if we were to deny it, it doesn't matter. They will still come. That we're not stopping them from coming.
If you were to deny it, I think that special magistrate provision would come in saying, why didn't you give them the performance-based agreement to which they are entitled? The statute says we shall enter into a performance-based agreement. And if we do not do that, then we would go to a magistrate hearing. The magistrate would say, you have to enter into the contract, and we would have to pay their attorney's fees and costs for having to litigate that.
Right. So I'm not averse to litigation. I just understand that this is not the way it is set up and established with the legislature. They already thought this all through, and there are actually very punitive measures if we do not. Mm-hmm. So we don't really have the authority to approve or deny. We have the authority to get the runaround, go through many other levels, and then arrive at the same place, but with less funding.
Let me see if I can be as clear with this as I can. As you all know, neither am I adverse to litigation. I do it for a living. But the problem with the litigation here is that it would be unsuccessful. We would lose attorney's fees and costs. And I can't in good conscience say, you know what, forget it. I recommend you guys turn this down, number one, and then go into that litigation, because we would be expending public tax dollars on attorney's fees and cost on it, number one. Number two, I think the state would appoint that magistrate. I would assume that the State Department of Education might think that we were not acting in good faith and may take some steps in order to get us in compliance with the statute. And I don't think that that's necessarily a course of action that I would ever recommend in this case, especially when the law is so clear. So my legal opinion is tonight, I think we need this board to approve it in order to avoid the attorney's fees and costs if we don't approve it and we don't enter into the performance-based agreement.
Okay, so it's a different kind of approval. We're not really, okay, thank you. And then a couple more questions about the actual schools. If we're not really overseeing them, who does?
We are still ostensibly the entity with which they contract. So we have the performance-based agreement with them. If they do not comply with the performance-based agreement, then we can still take action against them to potentially close them if they engage in material violation of the law, material violation of their contract. It's the same closure standards as a charter school, and that's written into the contract. So we oversee them from that standpoint of monitoring their compliance with the contract. But what we can't do is it's not like the normal decision we would have, I guess it would be a month from now when we're doing the other charter applications, of voting it up or down. The statute says you will enter into a performance-based agreement with them. We still get oversight when they come in. We still ensure that they comply with law. We still ensure they comply with the contract. We still ensure that they comply with their academic goals as stated in the contract. But the decision of whether or not to approve them has been essentially taken out of our hands.
Thank you. You made it much more clear. And what grade levels is this school going to be set up as?
They're going to be set up as a K through 12, but what they're going to do is they're going to stagger it. So in the first couple years, they're going to have K1 and 2 and 5 and 6, and then I think it's 9 and 10. And forgive me, I don't have this locked down to memory, but they're going to build up their enrollment over time. So they'll add a grade. Like if they go from K1 and 2 to start, they'll add 3rd grade 1 year, and then the next year they're at 4th grade, and then the next year they're at 5th grade. And the same with the middle and the same with the high school populations.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate your diligence.
Thank you, Member Castellano. Let's go to Member Byrd. Member Byrd, you on the line with us?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to have Mr. Palmerini kind of give this summary for our community. I think it's a great idea, as my fellow board members have said, to be as transparent as possible and also to let the community know what we as board members are facing from the state. You know, the statute, as he said, is really meant to tie our hands financially because, of course, they know how much school districts struggle anyway with, financially, and it's not an accident that it's done that way. So, there's bills in the legislature right now to continue to kind of chip away at our authority over charter schools. So I appreciate the opportunity to share this with the community. And I just wanted to, for the record, state that there are tremendous things happening at Phyllis Wheatley Elementary School. I just want everyone to know that, that school is a treasure to the community. It's such a rich history and such a loyal community around it that loves that school. There are tremendous things going on there. Tremendous progress is being made. We have a fantastic leader there in Miss Miller. So I have no doubt that we are making great gains and tremendous progress there. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Byrd. Let me just close out this conversation, discussion, just to make this as abundantly clear as I hope I can, and I know, John, Mr. Palmerini, you have, but while we're being asked to vote to approve something, we have been mandated to approve it. The word shall is non-negotiable. We must approve this. The only discretion we would have at this point would be to delay it a little bit further. That would cost us something. If we try not to approve this, we're going to end up in a course of legal action, which we have no opportunity to prevail in because the law is abundantly clear. The statute says thou shalt approve. This technically should be an ministerial act that doesn't come to this board because the board has no discretion. But that's not the way the legislature set it up. So if this board just wanted to take some principled stand on this issue and all vote against it, the only thing that would happen is we would temporarily delay the opening of the school. We would lose a ton of money and take that away from the work that we're doing in our other schools. So the board has no discretion. I would entertain a motion, and if everybody's not comfortable making a motion, I'll offer it.
I'll make a motion.
All right, motion by Member Gallo. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Member Felder. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
And those two last ayes, I'm sorry, that was me again. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Pomerini.
Thank you, members of the board.
Dr. Jenkins, I believe we're on to Superintendent Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to make a couple of comments regarding state assessments. I know there was a press conference today and some pending legislation to try to deal with our accountability program and the actual grading of schools and what state assessments mean this year. I wanted to give a brief update. I forwarded information to the board. We will be having an FAQ on our website around testing so that parents or the general public can see updates as well. And a short version of the information I shared with you will be going out in a Connect Orange message to our parents. So we understand that as a district, we are required to provide for all students to participate in state assessments, and that the Florida Department of Education is moving forward with requirements for in-person testing. It is a very unusual year. We are hoping for some flexibility and further direction, but at this point, according to the statutes, participation in the assessment program is mandatory for all school districts and all students attending public schools, including adult students seeking a standard high school diploma under the statute and students in the Department of Juvenile Justice education programs, except as otherwise provided by law. That is a direct quote. And the quote continues, if a student does not participate in the assessment program, the school district must notify the student's parent and provide the parent with information regarding the implications of such non-participation. Now, I will tell you, that's the end of the quote, I will tell you we feel fairly confident in the third grade portfolio option for students when it comes to retention in third grade. Feel fairly confident in that. What we are more concerned about are graduation requirements for our seniors, and so we want to be extremely diligent in counseling with those individuals. And as a district, we appreciate the increased scheduling flexibility offered by the recent emergency order. It offers us an extension of the testing window, so that will give us some opportunities, some options as well. We believe the data that is received from these assessments will be valuable in order to address learning loss and learning interruption as a result of the pandemic we've been living with. However, we strongly believe and advocate, as others have said forcefully, that scores from these assessments should not be used for retention, evaluation, or accountability measures such as school grades. The recent survey that we administered to our families I want to address briefly. Both Orange County Virtual School and Launch Ed parents were surveyed. About 8,000 responded. That's only about 16%, so it was not very telling of how many we can expect to show up in their schools for their required testing. The purpose of the survey was to gauge that, as well as some other information we needed, such as transportation needs, plans for picking up their students, and potential for Saturday testing at the secondary level. I will tell you the interest was not significant enough for Saturday testing. We believe the expanded testing window will be sufficient. There is also no evidence that Saturday testing is any less exposure because children are not preserved in a cohort or a bubble that they have been in, even with Saturday school. Schools will begin to communicate with families directly to ensure that they are able to safely schedule in-person testing for their students. This will allow schools to provide information to parents and further discuss available options and answer questions about state requirements, such as third grade promotion and graduation requirements. If parents have concerns, they will have those discussions at the school level. I'm very hopeful that we will have information, further direction from the Department of Education at the State Department. We will keep you posted and keep our community informed via Connect Orange messages and our FAQ being established for our webpage. That is my report.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Member Castellano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Jenkins, I have a question about the one of the consequences of like the school grades and student retention, but I didn't hear if EOCs will be affected, or because that is part of their grade and it's mandatory. So do you have any information about that?
So that is statutory as well. We believe it will take some action on the part of the Department of Education to make a provision there. We are very hopeful that that is forthcoming, but we have to wait for it.
Did they have something similar for last year at EOCs? Did they include those for the last school year?
Yeah, the entire accountability system was suspended last year because we didn't have students in school for testing.
So it's nothing new if they don't for the EOCs.
I am very hopeful.
Thank you.
Member Gallo.
Thank you. So I have a question. I know that I think it was I know it was Member Castor-Gentle had asked the question at one of the board meetings if we would require our students to return to a brick and mortar setting to take the test, and the answer, I believe, from Dr. Vasquez was no, that we would not require or force our students back into a building to test. So what are we doing for those students that don't feel safe coming back into a brick and mortar to ensure that they don't, they won't be put into remediation, they won't be held back? Are we doing portfolios? What is allowed by law that we'll be implementing to ensure that those kids will be, will be okay, or will be able to move forward without consequences?
So I want to be very clear. It is still a fact that you cannot go and force a parent to bring their child to school. That is just a fact. But it is also a fact that we are required to provide for face-to-face, in-person testing. The state will make no provision, they've made this clear, no provision for remote testing, so we have no other options. But we can work collaboratively and creatively around that extended testing window if we have enough. That's why we're working at the school level for principals and teachers to try to deal with individuals, because if they have enough critical mass to offer something flexible, we can do that. We have an extended testing window. When it comes to the penalties, we have advocated that there should be no penalties. Third grade, we believe the portfolio is still an option. I want to be clear, though. So the statutes actually say that they should have at least sat for the test before they get the portfolio option. Hence, if you recall, the sit, break the seal, and leave option, that strategy was to fulfill the statutory requirements. Because we're in a pandemic, I am very hopeful that the portfolio option is just an option without going through that kind of technicality, but we'll have to get direction from the state.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallo. Member Caster-Dental. I'm struggling. I'm struggling a little bit with this, not understanding where we are. I do understand that. I recall there being a statement from the district that parents, there would be no consequence, that students were required to come in for the FSA, but there would be no consequence. I'm remembering that, and I'm concerned that if I could be remembering it wrong, but I'm concerned if I'm remembering that parents may also be under that same impression. And based on what I hear you saying, Dr. Jenkins, we don't know for sure right now. Is that an accurate assessment?
It's fairly accurate. I don't recall whether they said no consequences or not, or if I said no consequences. If we did, there's an assumption because the commissioner has said grace and compassion.
Right.
But we have to have it officially, and my resources say we can expect some information soon.
Okay. If there's any way that communications can just check and see, I'm trying to go through all of my emails because I want to make sure that that none of us have given out information that may not be completely accurate, because God forbid that a parent doesn't send their child in and there is a consequence. So maybe Mr. Howitt could look through everything that's gone out as well.
Not only that, we will communicate and reiterate repeatedly.
Oh, good.
It is absolutely still true that nobody can force a parent who believes there is a concern to bring their child in, but we cannot say it's optional because the statute does not support that. So there's a fairly good chance that there'll be some communication that makes that clearer for everyone, that we're in a period of grace and compassion. That's the term that our commissioner has used repeatedly. I'm very hopeful we'll hear that confirmed officially from the state in the very near future.
Okay. Again, even the idea, I just don't want parents misled. So if there is any kind of penalty, I think we need to make sure that parents understand when we say we can't force you in, just like the state can't force us to vote the way we just did a minute ago, they can force us to vote, because if we don't, we're going to get sued and we're going to lose, and we're going to lose a lot of money. So if, in fact, we can't force the parent to bring them in, but there's a significant consequence, if that turns out to be the case, I think that the communication is going to be extremely important, because I still feel that there was some sort of a representation. I can't remember exactly what it was, whether it was in writing, and I'm just afraid if I saw it or thought it, others might have as well. Member Lopez.
Madam Chair, I have a legal question, I guess. Maybe the superintendent can answer this question. Even when the state require the students to be tested, what is the point of view of the district in terms of waiving? And I know that, we cannot choose that because we cannot overrule the state, but can we send a letter? I don't know if the other school board members agree on this. Should be a great conversation to have, because I don't believe that our students are in the best time to be tested, or at least to have a test that can be affected if they cannot graduate, because they cannot imagine. I'm just thinking about a student that cannot take a test because is sick, or maybe has high risk conditions that cannot be exposed to the school. So that student just decided not to take the test. That means that the student is not gonna graduate. Just thinking about the seniors, for example, we don't have the same options that we have for third graders in middle school and high school. That's another question. So I have a few questions: the letter, the opinion of the rest of the school board members, the legal view on this, and also the portfolio for middle schoolers and high schoolers. Is that possible?
So two things. One, I feel fairly confident from conversations that I've had that the portfolio is not going to be somehow outlawed. I believe the portfolio, without additional sit down, break the seal kinds of provisions, should be fairly simple to make as a provision, but it's not under my authority. I want to assure the board, if it were under my authority, you know exactly where I would land. I don't want our teachers penalized. I don't want students penalized. I don't want schools penalized during a pandemic. And so if they give that authority to the local district, it would certainly be my recommendation to the board that there be no such consequences. Last year, it had to be waived because there was not a provision for taking those tests. So what I'm hoping, let me just tell you what I'm hopeful to hear, and then we'll see what actually comes down from DOE, because I've had these conversations. My fellow superintendents have had them as well. I am hoping that the provision will be similar to what we had last year. My greatest concern is, again, because I think we can work around part of the grade. That ought to be easy enough to set aside. I think third grade portfolio, that ought to be easy enough to decide and agree with that provision. My greatest concern is graduation requirements. That's where I have the greatest angst about whether or not we'll have the generosity, the grace, and compassion that we've been provided or that we've been told about so often from DOE. And I am certainly agreeable to using alternatives and options for seniors and for graduation as well. My preference is to have it waived again this year.
So can we request as a district to the FSA to be waived or not?
We can certainly send a letter from the board or a letter from myself. The pressure is on. The communication has come from PTA and from other districts. There was a press conference today, Member Lopez, and I'm sure that the pressure will continue. At the end of the day, we await communication from our Commissioner of Education. He knows how we feel about it. He knows how the State Superintendents Association, PTA, school board members, they all know where our preference lies. I remain hopeful, but I can't guarantee it. And happy to have a letter go to the Commissioner as well.
Thank you. That will be great. Thank you.
Member Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. My concern is, as Member Lopez said, I have great concern about our students and their state of mind right now to be doing testing, and I think what I'm even more concerned, I mean, I'm obviously concerned about the graduation requirements, as the superintendent said, but I think what I'm even more concerned about that's much more real for our students is, as Member Castor-Dental said, the end of course exams, the exams that they take at the end of the course that count for 30% of their grade. I know that students are really stressed out. As I've shared with the superintendent, I had a focus group yesterday with high school students, and all they wanted to talk about the entire time was mental health. So they are very, very stressed out, very emotionally taxed. I agree with Member Lopez. I don't think this is a great time to be testing them. I know this week they've been going through progress monitoring testing. And that's a lot. That's a lot of assessments they've been going through. And so it's a lot of pressure on our kids. So I just wanted to share that I also have this concern, but I'm also very concerned about putting this pressure on them to test and having that test be such a big part of their grade this year with everything else they're going through. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Byrd. Dr. Jenkins, it seems to me that at our last meeting, there was some concern also that students that didn't have to take their end of the year test last year might still have to take it to graduate. For instance, for algebra. So they took algebra last year, they didn't have to take the test, that they may still have to come back this year or in a future year. Do we know if that's been resolved? Whew. Okay, so I have one other suggestion, and Member Lopez mentioned it. We had a recent discussion about the board communication, and that sometimes if we would ask our constituents, our parents, our teachers, whatever the cause is, to help us help them, that we could be more effective. So what I'm wondering is if we were to send a letter out from the board, and then board members could reach out to parents in each of their districts, sharing the letter and asking them if they agree and they share this concern, not directing them, but just providing the opportunity if they want to reach out and share in that communication. If we're going to do that, we need to do it fairly quickly. So I'm going to ask if the board would trust the superintendent and I to work together on putting that letter together, and based on what you've heard already in terms of the superintendent's position on this, if everybody's comfortable with that, we will send the letter out And it can be a joint letter, it can be 2 separate letters, but then you all can send it out as well, okay? Super. And I know we're going to talk about this in your communications meeting, but this has been on my mind for the last couple of weeks, and I can tell it's on everybody else's mind, and the clock's ticking. So, all right, thank you. So, Dr. Jenkins, anything else? Okay, great. Ms. Enval, anything? Okay. Announcements from committee members. Vice Chair.
Miss McGill and my new assistant, Wendy Ikes, are looking for some dates right after break to have that communications committee meeting to really talk about so many things that we want to be more proactive on communicating with our community because they happen rapidly, but some of it we can try to at least give people a heads up on. So that will be kind of the strategy for that communication.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Looking forward to that. I'm going to ask whether there are any policy level issues. Obviously, we touched on an important one at the beginning or the pre-agenda meeting, and that will be coming back to the board in the, well, I don't want to say the near future because I don't want to commit the superintendent, Ms. Enval, but that will be coming back to us. Member Castor-Dental.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't want to leave the meeting without recognizing that our teachers and staff and all the employees are now eligible for their COVID shots, and how exciting that is.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you look at Facebook, or if you have a friend who's a teacher or a bus driver, you can see how excited and relieved so many of them are. They're posting about, and they're getting the shots, they're communicating with their peers, and it is joyful, and I'm so excited, and I just hope that everyone who can will take advantage of getting the shot now through spring break. Do it early, and so that we can get back to normal earlier. And I did notice that there is still a lot of confusion about where the sites are, who is allowing Orange County employees and teachers. Is it only the FEMA site? Is it CVS? Is it Publix? It just seems to quickly change. And I wonder if it's possible to send out another news you can use with updated information for our employees to make it easy for them.
Dr. Jenkins.
We can certainly do that because the sites have expanded, and Dr. Pino's quite excited about it.
Yeah, and also with that, there's a pre-registration avenue that teachers and staff can avail themselves to. I don't know what it is, but there is some pre-registration. So the more we can give them specific information, the better. Awesome, great idea.
We will put that out again. That's a great idea. And also, we've had communication wondering if we would use some of our school sites as they expand, and we have said absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything we can do to cooperate to get more people immunized, we are absolutely agreeable to that. So hopefully there will be more sites that include some of our schools.
Yeah, what a great way to spend spring break.
One follow-up, is it possible to anonymously survey our employees as to whether they've taken advantage of that vaccination, or they plan to, or they don't plan to? Is there a way to?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
So we did survey, in fact, the State Department, just as the governor was trying to make his determinations, the State Department of Education asked us to survey. We were trending about 87% of our employees saying yes, they would. I'm sorry, it was at the time they only wanted to know teachers. About 87% said yes, I will take the actual shot. If we survey afterwards, we could find out how many have taken it already or who intends to take it, but 87% was pretty positive among our teaching ranks. And then we believe for our classified, we were around the first time we offered for the 65 and over, about 30% of our classified were saying, no, I don't want to take it. So 70% in the classified. We need to make sure we're educating all of our employees to how critical, how important it is. And I think it is intended to be a compliment to them, to offer it to them before it's offered to the general public. And so we can get that word out more. 87% for teachers and 70% for instructional at the last time that we surveyed were interested in the shot.
One more question about, is the news you can use sent out in Spanish?
So our language of business is English. So to our employees, it is in English. When we're sending things out to parents, we send it in several languages, but for our employees, it goes in English. We can certainly make a provision to get it out in Spanish.
I think that would really help.
Yeah, keep in mind. So applications and everything else, you are expected to be able to speak and understand English when you're an employee, but we can put it out again.
Just keep it to this one COVID help.
Can't
if
hurt.
we can.
Can't hurt. We
All
can
right,
do it.
thank you.
All right, Vice Chair.
I'm going to make an appeal to those that are fearful of the vaccine or think they're so young they don't need it. I was with my millennial nephew this past week, and he said, I don't think, and his sister is a anesthesia cardiac nurse practitioner, and his new almost brother-in-law is a physician anesthesiologist. And we were sitting at the table, and he said, I don't think I'm going to get the vaccine. And I said, if you had a crystal ball and you knew on Tuesday that your car was going to get hit by a semi-truck if you went down that highway, would you avoid it? He said, yes. I said, that's the vaccine. You don't know when you're going to get hit by the semi-truck or if, but you want to avoid it if you can. So for those who are fearful of the vaccine or for whatever reason don't think that they need it, it really will help us recover much faster, economically, as a community, to get to a new state of normal. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Member Colbert.
Thank you for your indulgence, Chair. This is just so important to have this conversation. My sister and my niece are both teachers for OCPS, and I just want everybody out there to know every employee of OCPS is eligible. There is no age limit, and all you need, you don't even need to have an appointment or anything. Right. You can walk up. You need your badge and your driver's license. That's it. Your badge shows that you're an OCPS employee. Your driver's license verifies that that's your badge, and you will get the shot. No charge. It's very, very easy. So I just want to encourage everyone to do that. No appointment necessary.
Thank you, Member Colbert. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I've been texting all my teacher friends going, have you gotten your shot? Did you sign up? Did you go? Have you gone? So I'm super excited and thrilled that we've it feels like we can take a sigh of relief that we're able to get all of our staff, our teachers, our classified staff, our admin, everybody vaccinated. So I would highly encourage everybody to do so. I went online and there was tons of appointments. So it seems like it's not a huge undertaking like it was, or as difficult of a process as it was. I would just like to make a plug that if we do open up some of our schools to testing sites, that we truly are strategic in where we place them. I know I have the furthest district out east to the Brevard County line and over to the Seminole County line, and there's nothing out there. So it would be great if we, everybody has to go to the convention center, they have to go to Valencia, or if you can get into Publix or CVS through their appointment system to do that. But if we're looking, if we could look at the farthest corners of our district and make sure that we are making sure that those communities have access, that would be fabulous. Thank you.
Absolutely. Member Felder. I'm sorry, Dr. Jenkins, and I'll go to Member Felder. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to give one extra piece of information. Folks can go on our website, on our homepage, and click on vaccination link and look at lots of information right there on our homepage. So I want to encourage folks to do that. And I don't think we're going to have control over which schools they pick, but we will certainly try to give some leverage that and I believe they want them geographically spread out, so we'll certainly make that recommendation as well.
Super. Member Felder.
Yes, thank you so much. I, too, want to concur with the taking of the vaccinations. I historically have not liked shots. I was always given cherry popsicles. Not top popsicles, but lollipops. To this day, I don't eat cherry lollipops. But I do want to say that my city commissioner and Dr. Williams worked very closely together in terms of getting sites for us. And I live in the west part of town, so we have a lot of sites available. I understand, but you can find who the city commissioner is out there or county commissioner. They can be instrumental, Member Gallo, in helping you all find a site in that area, like a church or wherever. Like I went to a church to get the shots, and I'm glad that Member Castellano talked about the language, and we do have it in our employee, that you should be able to learn English. But I know at Edgewater we have quite a few Creole-speaking workers, and I don't know that they really understand when, they may know yes and no and come and that, but if we're just going to have just COVID testing, just that one thing in Creole to help some of the people that work, that do our custodial work and so forth, because they may not really understand the significance and the seriousness of trying to get this pandemic under control. And I'm very grateful that it was opened up to teachers. I'm so grateful for that, and educators, that we can do that. So it's just like, it's not even a pinch. It's over in a second. So get the shot. Thanks.
Thank you. Member Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you also to Commissioner Ortiz and also Ms. Thims, a former student of Colonial High School, used to be my student as well, to make arrangements for our teachers and classified employees with Dr. Williams. She was very useful, always get in contact with us and try to make the arrangements to take them during classes. So just say thank you. It was great for these vaccinations.
Thank you, Member Lopez. All right, anything else? All right, Dr. Jenkins, anything else? I'm going to adjourn this meeting. All right, this meeting is now adjourned. And Mr. Pacheco, don't leave the room.
Good evening, everyone.